despite Mike White's terrible day. They got the win, though, and that's what matters. So I'm not dropping them, but I've got my eye on you again. Welcome to the jungle, everyone. I'm Kyle Phelps, and honestly, I have no idea where to put some of these teams. Most of this week was exactly what you would expect out of the NFL, except for a few particular games that just kind of threw a wrench into everything. But before we get into all that, I'd just like to ask that you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. It really helps my channel out, and it helps you know when all of my content comes out. So let's get started, as always, with the bottom three categories. We won't spend too much time on them because they're all mostly irrelevant, especially at this point in the season. But I'm going to put them up here so you know where your team stands, even if they're not in the top 14. Some of the highlights from this group, or lowlights, I guess you could call it, include the Houston Texans, who have been at 32 for a while now. They really solidified it this week with that god-awful performance against the Cleveland Browns. I am actually genuinely starting to think that they should be relegated to the USFL. They're that bad, and they have that much of, no future. Then there's the Chicago Bears, who I was starting to believe in until they just completely fell apart against the Green Bay Packers. Then how about the Green Bay Packers themselves, who showed some vague signs of life against the Chicago Bears? Maybe that's, I don't think they're making the playoffs at this point, but maybe some hope for the future. So that's all I have for those categories, though. Let's move on to the playoff hopefuls. At 16 and 15, we're not going to yield too much time to the Las Vegas Raiders and New England Patriots, because I think the playoffs are still a bit on the periphery for both of them, but I felt the need to give them props considering the way they both looked at points in the season. At number 14, I've got the Tennessee Titans, who are clearly a playoff team because of the division they play in, but, Jesus, man. They're going in the wrong direction and losing 3 of their last 5 games, including a win but struggle against the bum-ass Broncos, and then getting absolutely destroyed by the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 13, I've got the Baltimore Ravens, who technically lead their division, but they lost Lamar Jackson for at least a little while. I'm not sure how long he's going to be out, but he's literally the only reason they're a playoff team. So, I could see them kind of just collapsing at this point, especially the way they looked against the Broncos. Number 12, I've got the Washington Commanders, who probably don't deserve the boost I gave them for tying the Giants, but honestly, I feel like they deserved to not move down at the very least, and they're clearly better than the Ravens and the Titans right now, so that's kind of where I'm at with them. Finally, at number 11, I've got the Seattle Seahawks. Same situation. Struggling with the Rams bothers me, but not as much as what I've seen from these other teams. So, this is where they are. By the way, this right here is why I said I have no idea where to put some of these teams at the top of this episode, because it's just especially this part, what do you even do with some of these teams at this point? Next up, we have the playoff contenders. Number 10, I've got the New York Jets. Mike White did the Mike White thing. Right? He came off the bench to play incredibly well in his first start, and then proceeded to stink it up the following week. He's clearly not the answer in New York either. Put a great quarterback in this team, and they're probably Super Bowl contenders, but for now, I think, they're at least clearly a playoff team. I just don't know if they're going to do much beyond that. Number 9, we've got the Miami Dolphins. Ouch. I'm not going to kill them too badly this week. Because it was one bad loss to a great team in the NFL, and they're coming off of a 5-game win streak, so, I'll give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt right now. But that did not look good at all. Number 8, I've got the New York Giants. A tie. Not impressive at all. But the Commanders are a good football team right now, so you've got to give the Giants props for hanging in there at least, right? They really need to turn their fortunes around if they're going to make noise in the playoffs, but hey, that was a bit of a start, right? Number 7, I dropped the San Francisco 49ers a lot because they appear to be getting ready to start Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy at this point. I know he did well, but people are already talking about them signing the recently released Baker Mayfield, so I'm sorry, forgive me if I'm a little skeptical about the 49ers right now. Finally, at number 6, I've got the Minnesota Vikings. I could not justify boosting them into the Super Bowl contenders after they struggled against the Jets despite Mike White's terrible day. They got the win, though, and that's what matters. So I'm not dropping them, but I've got my eye on you again. Finally, we've got the Super Bowl caliber teams. Number 5, we've got the Dallas Cowboys. This is where things get pretty tricky because they ended up obliterating the Indianapolis Colts this week, but they also really kind of struggled against them, right? Up until the fourth quarter when they just, ran all over them and everything like that. But once again, I'm a bit skeptical. I want to see a bit more of a complete game with the Cowboys here. Number 4, the Buffalo Bills took care of business against the Patriots on Thursday Night Football. I don't think that it was worth a boost up the rankings considering how high they already are, but I definitely think it confirmed them as a top 4 team in the NFL. Number 3, I've got the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not gonna lie, Chiefs fans were so salty after that loss that if I was ranking fan bases, I'd put them down at number 31 next to the Steelers, who, you know how I feel about the Steelers. But the Chiefs themselves, I think, deserve plenty of credit for taking things down to the wire against one of the best teams in the NFL this week. But they still have to make room for my number 2 team, your Cincinnati Bengals. Is there any argument against them being the best team in the AFC right now after owning the Kansas City Chiefs 3 times in a row? You could maybe make the argument about the Bills, right? But the Bills haven't been perfect this season either. They have their flaws. We'll see in Week 17 when Joe Burrow and the Bengals host the Bills for what very well could be the game that decides the AFC's number 1 seed. But for now, I think the Bengals are better. Finally, the Philadelphia Eagles are clearly the NFL's best team right now. Their offense has been on an absolute tear lately. They got a little weird there for a minute, losing to the Commanders and then struggling to the Colts. But they're still 11-1 on the season, and they're 11-1 for a reason. Jalen Hurts is playing at an MVP level. Their running game is elite, and their defense is really good too. So that's pretty much all I have for this week, everyone. Here's the whole list together so you can see everything in context. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll feature the best ones in my next video, like this one from Sergeant Crust Nugget, who said on my recent post about the Chiefs recap video, "It's fine, Kyle. It's true we still own the Chiefs. Go Bengals. Hooday." Now, first of all, I appreciate you, Crust. But second of all, I mainly wanted to highlight this comment for those of you who didn't see my post in the first place. I recorded my whole analysis and reaction video for the Bengals' massive win over the Kansas City Chiefs, but I think a file got corrupted or something, so it won't export into an actual video I can upload to YouTube. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I think it might be that. I refuse to lose this video, though. I will find a way, because I spent my whole morning making that yesterday, and I refuse to just completely throw it out the window, right? So I'll get it up at some point, but right now it's just kind of, it feels like a bust right now, and that's unfortunate. But I did make the video, and it was a really good video, so... Anyway, until then, y'all can always find more of what I do at Kyle Phelps92 on Twitter, Facebook.com/ThePhelps, the Battle of Ohio podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, ATBNetwork.com, Bought Fumble Sports, and right here if you subscribe. That's all I got for this week's Power Rankings, y'all. I'll leave y'all, as always, with a hooday!